What's up, guys? I just came back from Turks and Caicos yesterday, and this thing has been weighing on me, and I want to share this story with you guys. Um, First off, I should say that I don't know if you guys relate to this, but I am one of those people where I'm easily irritated the day of travel if planes are involved. Like the waiting at the airport, the inefficiency that often comes with flying, whether it's stuff with the airline, stuff with the plane itself. There's often chaos at airports and people who are just like frazzled, and all of it just puts me in a weird mood. I don't know if it's just me being high maintenance or if anybody can relate to this, but I tend to be in a bad mood by the time I arrive anywhere, especially if it's a long flight. So I definitely was already affected mood wise, but I came home and this story I'm about to share, made me so much more like moody and down. And I just went to bed like frustrated at the way our world is, and that our world is still where it is. Yesterday, before I left the hotel, I was having breakfast at the hotel, and there were these two guys sitting at their own table. I honestly first assumed they were a gay couple because it's kind of unusual to see two grown men, middle-aged, no women, nor was it like a big group, just the two of them. Of course, it could be anything, right? They could be there on business, they could be there for some event, some conference, but my first thought was just like, oh, I wonder if this is a gay couple because it's just the two of them and they seem to know each other well. And to be honest, one of them just looked gayer than the other. I don't know. So anyway, one of them eventually starts talking on the phone. They were speaking English, and then he gets on the phone and I hear him speaking Turkish, and I speak Turkish, so I could, I wasn't like attentively listening, but out of the corner, peripheral hearing, I could hear him speak Turkish. And at one point I heard him say the word ibne, which means faggot, in Turkish. And it's a very strong, offensive word. I mean, I guess you could say that's offensive in any language, but I feel like in Turkish, it's not a word that you hear very often. And in Turkish, curse words tend to be more, in my experience, my observation, they're more significant than in English. Like, I feel like people in America will curse every 5 minutes, and you watch reality TV and people call each other bitches and sluts and stuff like that. In Turkish culture, it's like more, it cuts deeper to use these kinds of words because it's just not considered, I guess, gracious for obvious reasons. So I was just kind of stunned when he used this word. We're in Turks and Caicos, out of all places. Like, I was shocked to even hear a Turkish person speaking. So obviously he didn't know that anybody was around. I'm sure he also didn't know there was a gay person sitting literally one table over who could understand him. But I was just so taken aback that somebody in a public space would just say this word out loud, regardless of if people understand or not. It's just like such a tacky, ugly thing to say. And then I thought, well, they must not be a gay couple. And then I started thinking, like, is he talking about the other guy on the phone? Is he talking about the guy next to him? The one who I thought looked gayer? I don't know. But whatever, it stayed with me and it rubbed me the wrong way. And, then I checked out of the hotel, made my way to the airport. So now I'm on the plane, and there was a group of three, I was about to say kids, but they weren't like, 10 years old. They were probably a little bit younger than me, 20 something. I would say 18, 19, like college aged at the youngest. And they were really obnoxious the whole flight. Like, they were loud. I don't know if it was their first flight or something. Maybe they were just really excited, but they were commenting on everything and very loudly. And then we arrive, and we're waiting to deboard the plane. And that's always like a frustrating thing because there are people who are very slow, and like what I was saying earlier, it's just like annoying because you're waiting on other people when you fly. But sometimes you also have to get your luggage, and the worst thing is when your luggage is farther behind you for whatever reason, like you couldn't find space in your actual aisle when you were boarding, so you had to like throw it farther back. So this poor guy ends up having to like go into the line backwards to fetch his luggage, And naturally that holds up the flow, but whatever, the guy needs his luggage. And the kids behind me, one of them loudly is like, oh, look at this guy, he's holding up the line for his baggage. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Like, he needs to get his luggage. The guy who's getting his luggage, by the way, looks gay. Like, not like flamboyantly feminine gay. He looks like one of those like muscle gays, meaning like he's wearing booty shorts, he's super muscular, and he's dressed very like he's showing a lot of skin, I guess. So he just kind of looks gay. Like I immediately inferred when I saw him that he's probably gay. And as soon as the guy behind me says this guy's holding up the line, which was such a weird and tacky and unnecessary thing to say, the other friend, interestingly, the female friend in their group of 3, she goes, he's a pom-pom, or pum-pum. And they laughed to each other and whatever, and I was like, I wonder what that means, pom-pom. And I Googled it on the way home in the Uber, and it turns out it's Jamaican slang to mean pussy. So they were insulting this guy similarly to the guy at the hotel using the word faggot, except here they're actually calling somebody that who is probably gay, and they're saying it out loud without any self-awareness, any kind of respect. And so I came home last night already sort of frazzled and like, you know, after a day of travel, even if it's a short flight, I just feel like you spend so many hours in transit between the plane and waiting and customs. So I was already like moody, but then I was thinking about these 2 situations, and I thought, wow, in the same day, I heard 2 completely different strangers in 2 completely different contexts, in 2 completely different languages, use these like homophobic slurs. And neither was directed at me, as far as I know, but it still bothered me to think like, people are so reckless with the way they speak and have such a lack of respect for other people. And I'm like, what would even prompt somebody to use that kind of language out loud? Like, it's just so disrespectful, and it's like toxic. It's like negative to put that out there. But then on the other hand, of course, the homophobia implied is just so gross. And I'm like, how is it 2023 and these are grown adults and they still behave this way? And it just made me sad to think like, these are things that are never gonna go away, right? It's like racism, like it doesn't matter how much better things get, there's always going to be this level of ignorance that's just pervasive in society. And part of the problem too is I'm probably too sensitive, that I let these things get to me, I think about it, and because I was already moody, you know, it infiltrated more than maybe it normally would. But you know, even if something like that is not directed at you, it's directed at people like me. It's directed like a lot of us, people watching this video. And I'm just like, wow, if I'm still hearing this, I can only imagine what kids are still dealing with on the playground and at school. And it just makes me sad for the way the world is, that people are so reckless with their intent, with their words, with their behavior. Seeing these things or experiencing them, it always reminds me of how cruel our world is and how there's so much mess with humans, like so much darkness and just toxic tendencies and patterns repeating that don't need to be repeated. But if you're not even questioning your own thought process and your own values and stuff, of course this stuff is just going to keep continuing. This is the kind of thing that makes me go, I can't imagine bringing a child into the world today. Like, it just seems so exhausting to expose a new, fresh human life into this world that we've inherited, where people are just so glib and mean-spirited that they would have the audacity to vocalize these things. Not just vocalize them, but in public, in front of total strangers, where there might be gay people around you. Just the fact that I, as an individual traveling, could be minding my own business and this is going on around me, this kind of noise, is just so disappointing. I'm just disappointed in the world that we live in. Maybe I'm being over dramatic, maybe I'm oversensitive, but that's just, I just woke up still like thinking about this, being saddened by how cruel our world is.